Welcome to English Podcast. Subscribe our channel for more update.
Okay, welcome back to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
Today we're tackling a really interesting point in the journey of learning English. It's a specific level the material you've shared focuses on. B1.
That's right. Yeah, we've got a good amount of source material here that doesn't just, define B1. It really digs into what it means to be at this stage. Think of it as trying to understand the landscape of, intermediate English, what you can actually do.
And how to keep going, right? Because sometimes people feel a bit stuck there.
Exactly. How to navigate the path forward when maybe progress feels, slow.
Yeah, for a lot of learners, B1 can seem like a plateau. You're past the basics, you can communicate okay, but getting better feels harder.
It does.
So our mission today is really to unpack this source material, give you a clear picture of B1, and pull out the most useful, actionable insights.
Turning that feeling of stuck into more of launchpad, hopefully.
Let's do it. Let's jump into what the sources reveal about this pivotal level.
Okay.
So first things first, the fundamental question. According to this material, what actually is B1 English? It clearly calls it an intermediate level.
It does, and what's quite insightful, I think, is how it goes beyond just the label. It describes B1 as the point where you can grasp the main points of clear standard information.
On familiar topics.
Yes, exactly. Everyday things, work, school, hobbies, travel stuff you encounter regularly.
Which means, and the source points this out, you're functionally able to handle most situations you'd likely run into if you were traveling in an English-speaking area.
Which is huge.
It is. You're not just passively understanding, you're interacting.
But participating, absolutely. And this material also emphasizes that at B1, you can produce simple, connected text on subjects that are familiar or, personally interesting. So writing about experiences, describing events, maybe even talking a bit about hopes or ambitions.
Okay, so understanding the main message, expressing your own ideas simply but, effectively enough. But the source brings up something really crucial here, and it links back to that plateau idea. Confidence.
Ah, yes.
It suggests many B1 learners have the ability, technically, but might hesitate. They lack the confidence to actually, speak.
This is a key insight from the material, I think. It tackles that fear of making mistakes head on.
Right.
And it makes it really clear that at B1, perfect grammar, it's absolutely not the expectation.
Okay.
The priority is just clear communication, getting your message across, even if there are errors. That's the goal.
That feels like a massive weight off the shoulders for anyone listening who's at this level. It's kind of permission to try.
Exactly. Permission to make those mistakes. So moving from what you can do to how you build those skills, the source then dives into the essential grammar points for B1.
Right. It says you need a pretty solid grasp of the basic tenses past, present, future.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
We're talking about being comfortable saying things like, I finished work early yesterday, using the past simple correctly.
Or using the present continuous for what's happening now. I'm trying to learn this.
This new software, yeah. And for future plans, the source points to using going to, we're going to have a team meeting next week. Simple, clear future.
Standard stuff.
But here's where it gets, I think, really interesting. The source highlights the importance of modal verbs at B1.
Yes, modals. Good point. Words like can, should, must, might.
Yeah.
The source points out how vital these are for expressing different shades of meaning. Things like ability, I can swim.
Or giving advice, you should practice speaking more.
Exactly. Or necessity, we must follow the rules. Or even possibility, it might rain later.
They add so much nuance, don't they? Beyond just simple fact.
They really enrich your communication, definitely.
Okay, what about vocabulary then? The material suggests this is a major growth area at B1.
Oh, definitely. The focus, according to these sources, is really on expanding vocabulary for those everyday situations we mentioned earlier.
Like practical stuff.
Yeah, think about, shopping, talking about your health, things at work, getting around using transport.
Let's take one of the sources' examples talking about health. If you're at the doctor's, what kind of B1 vocab or phrases are we talking about?
Well, the material suggests you'd need ways to describe symptoms simply. I have a sore throat. Or my knee hurts. Basic descriptions.
Right.
And also practical phrases like, I need to make an appointment, or maybe asking about the treatment.
And maybe at work. Simple things like, I sent the email, or could you repeat that, please? Phrases that just help you function.
Exactly. Real-world function. The source also gives a nod to collocations,
Yeah, word partners.
Yeah, those pairs or groups of words that just sound natural together in English, like make a decision, not do a decision.
Or do homework, take a photo.
Right. Focusing on those, the source suggests, makes your English sound much more, well, natural, less like textbook English.
More native-like, yeah. Okay, so we've got the definition, the capabilities, the core grammar like tenses and modals, and key vocab areas. But the source also addresses those frustrating moments, the common hurdles B1 learners often trip over.
Yes, it mentions a couple of classics. A big one is that confusion between the past simple and the present perfect tenses.
Ah, yes, the classic, I have saw that movie.
That one, yeah.
The source clearly shows why that's wrong and gives the right forms. I have seen that movie, the present perfect, connecting past to present somehow.
Or, more commonly for a specific past event, just, I saw that movie last week. Past simple. Done.
And understanding the difference in meaning is really key there, isn't it? It's not just grammar rules.
Exactly. It's about why you choose one over the other. And then there are those little words, prepositions, on, in, at.
Oh, they seem so simple.
Like they do. But the source points out how tricky they can be, especially with time.
Yeah, the source gives those clear examples. It's on Monday, but in July, and then at 5 o'clock.
There often isn't a perfect logical rule, is there? It's just usage you have to pick up.
You just have to learn them.
Another common one it highlights is getting the word order wrong in questions.
Instead of say, are you coming to the party? A B1 learner might sometimes say, you are coming to the party. With rising intonation, maybe.
Right, forgetting to flip the verb and subject.
Getting that auxiliary verb are before the subject you is a specific point the source says needs conscious practice at this stage.
Yeah, it's those small structural things that can still cause a bit of confusion, even when communication is generally okay.
Definitely. So the big question then, how do you push through these hurdles? How do you keep improving beyond that B1 plateau? The source material offers some really practical, concrete strategies.
And they seem to start with something really fundamental, just consistently engaging with English.
Yeah, immersion.
The advice is basically listen, speak, read, and write every day, even if it's just for short bursts.
Right. It's about weaving English into your routine, not just blocking out study time. And the source really pushes the idea of using English in, real life.
This loops back to the confidence thing again, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The material suggests finding opportunities to actually talk to native speakers, maybe join online groups, or even just try to think in English sometimes.
It's about moving the language out of the textbook, out of the classroom, and into your actual world.
And leveraging things you already enjoy.
Yeah, lean into that. The source recommends watching TV shows or movies, listening to podcasts like this one, hopefully.
Yeah.
Ideally with English subtitles, at least at first. It really helps connect the sound with the spelling.
That's a great tip. And something as simple as keeping a journal is suggested too. Just writing down your day or your thoughts in English.
It's a fantastic, really low-pressure way to practice using new words, new grammar structures in a context that matters to you.
Yeah.
The source really emphasizes that consistency across these different activities. Little and often is probably more effective than, say, cramming intensely once a week.
Okay, we've taken a pretty solid dive into B1 English, according to this source material.
We have.
We've covered what the level means, the capabilities right, understanding main points, handling everyday situations.
And that important point about confidence often mattering more than perfect grammar at this stage.
Definitely. We looked at the core grammar tenses, modals especially, and the vocabulary areas like daily life, collocations.
And we pinpointed some of those common sticking points, like confusing past tenses, those pesky prepositions, or maybe question word order.
Yeah, the tricky bits. And most importantly, I think, we've pulled out the practical strategies the material recommends for actually moving forward.
Consistent practice across all 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing.
Using English in real life as much as possible.
And leveraging simple tools like watching shows with subtitles or keeping that journal.
So wrapping this up, what does this whole deep dive mean for you, the listener? The source material leaves us with a pretty powerful idea, I think.
Yeah, it feels particularly relevant for anyone navigating B1 or really any stage of learning.
What does it essentially say?
It seems to boil down to this. Real progress, genuine progress, often comes through actively trying. And trying inevitably means you're going to make mistakes.
Right. It's unavoidable.
So instead of seeing a mistake as, proof that you're failing,
Yeah, beating yourself up about it.
perhaps see it, as the source kind of implicitly suggests, as just a signpost. A little marker.
Okay, a signpost.
Yeah, a sign that you're actually using the language, that you're pushing your boundaries, figuring out where the edges are. It's not failure, it's just feedback. Data.
That's a much more constructive way to look at it. It's information for improvement, not a judgment.
Exactly. So keep engaging with English. Keep trying those real-life situations. Keep practicing.
And view those moments where you stumble, where you make a mistake, not as setbacks.
But as essential parts of the process. Essential steps in breaking through that B1 plateau and continuing your journey forward. Keep exploring. Keep trying.